Hello, I'm Todd from the Erie Art Museum, and we are here for another round of Meet the Artist. Today we're going to continue our conversation with the 98th annual Nicole and Harry Martin Spring Show Award winners by speaking with George Cooley, who was a recipient of the Jurors Distinction Award. So, hello George.
Hello Todd.
How are you today?
I'm very good.
You ready for this?
I'm ready.
Good, because we're rolling. All right, so why don't we start by walking through some of the highlights of your artistic journey.
Okay. Well, to me that means going back to everything. So I grew up in Grand Rapids, Michigan, just outside of Grand Rapids, and basically I did art my entire life that I know of.
Yeah.
And when I graduated from high school, my decision was to go to a commercial arts school, Kendall School of Design in Grand Rapids. And I pursued that for a year and a half, and then I decided it was important to maybe party too much.
Yeah.
And I took a semester off. But back in 1968, when you took a semester off of school, you got drafted. And that's what happened to me. And I ended up going into the Army, and I ended up being a aerial surveillance officer. I mention that because I think the aerial surveillance qualities are in my art.
Okay.
That view of things, that overhead look.
Yeah, the removed.
And what things look like in that aerial surveillance world.
Right.
And I ended up I didn't go to Vietnam, but it was Vietnam era, and I ended up going to Korea. And if you've seen the original movie MASH, I saw that movie when it was new in Korea.
That's an experience.
And then after I got out of the Army, I finished up my schooling at the School of the Art Institute, or the Chicago Art Institute, and I specialized in printmaking and filmmaking. Never followed through on either one of those. And after school, I started to paint, and that's what I've done since. And also in school, along the way, I picked up a teaching certificate, and after being a captain in the Army, I decided to be an elementary art teacher. and I really enjoyed the kids, but I hated all the adults.
Of course.
And then I in the community that I was in the north suburbs of Chicago, I decided to take on a project of opening a art center in one of the towns, and did that for a while. And then I was feeling I had to do something with my life a little different, and I got a real job and became a salesman for a company called Cohenor Rapidograph, which made technical pens and lots of other art supplies and engineering supplies. And so I represented the manufacturer to art stores in Chicago.
Wow.
And eventually I became a sales manager for a region which turned into half the country. And I was doing art in the closet,
right. Of
but
course.
I was immersed in other people's art, and all the supplies that go with it and everything else. And then I progressed into getting involved with trade show exhibits and the design of them, and as a national sales manager for a company doing that. And so I was always doing art related things, but
Right.
not really putting pen to paper myself.
Yeah,
And but also always in the closet doing a little bit.
of course.
And then I left working for somebody else and started working for myself at about the time eBay started selling vintage and new fountain pens along with
Okay.
vintage art. And I still do that a little bit today, but I'm trying to get out of it.
Right.
And I've shifted to being a full-time artist
Okay.
over the years. So that's sort of my background.
Yeah, that's a very long resume you have.
Well, there's a lot of years in
a
there.
very varied resume. I mean, an art student to military man to art teacher to art supply salesman, all coming full circle back to.
And all of it, I feel, informs my art.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, well let's talk about the reason we're here.
Yeah.
The piece that you have in the spring show.
Princess Gaillard.
Princess Gaillard, indeed. So, specifically about the piece, what was the model for this painting?
The model was going to be my partner Margaret Brostrom. Her grandniece was just born not long ago,
Okay.
and we were going to go to Connecticut for this photo shoot to get the images we wanted.
Right.
And it turned out COVID came along and nobody would let us come to see the baby. and so we searched out other sources and found a baby that we could both agree on and thought was perfect for the series. So the pose that this baby is in is the pose that we used in the entire series.
Okay. And that was, did you just pick one image? Did they send you multiple images?
Nobody sent us. I mean,
Did you actually, was it alive?
We found the images we wanted and sorted through them and got just the right one, and I imagine stole it from somebody. But
Okay. All right. So what do you, let's kind of open the scope a little bit. And what inspired the idea of the series? What's it about?
Margaret and I have done a lot of collaboration.
Yeah.
And to us, collaborating means we each do our own painting, but we select a theme and we stick to it and do a number of that theme. Before the babies, we were doing NRA human silhouette targets, and we took the actual paper targets that the NRA uses in its competitions, and we embellished them, and then the series progressed into us going back to our canvases and using that image on canvas images, because the paper the targets are made of is incredibly cheap.
Right.
And it's very hard to work with. And we got some results from it and got it to work, but we really wanted to go back to canvas.
Of course.
And so that became that series. And we wanted an image that would be like the target. We wanted some kind of iconic image that we could use.
Yeah.
And it turned out being this baby.
All right. I think it's a fantastic choice. It is a very iconic baby, really.
Well,
like
babies.
A baby in it, the
clean,
image.
They're clean slates.
Yeah.
They're all of that, you know, and it gave us something for everything to form around.
Right. And let's. I kind of wanted to turn it. Let's speak on what's it like to work as a as a visual artist in collaboration with somebody? I'm assuming you've worked on your own series of paintings. How is it different? How is it better? How is it worse than like working together?
Again, our collaboration, we work a lot together if we put it in an exhibit, but otherwise we're just doing our normal painting, and we live together, so we can talk about what we're doing and everything, but we don't really work on each other's paintings.
So it's almost like you're not.
It's a theme that we sort of immerse ourselves in, and sometimes it's appropriate to talk about it, sometimes it isn't, but that's the kind of collaboration we do, and all our projects have been like that.
Have you ever opened the collaboration up to other artists other than your partner? Have you ever done a more widespread collaboration?
Like with the targets, we brought in targets to some situations, and school situations, and let people
that's fun.
Do their own kind of thing. Not really collaboration, but just sharing with them what we had done. And both Margaret and I aren't really interested in collaborating with a bunch of other people. We're sort of busy on our own collaboration.
Yeah, of course. Let's to wrap up, I kind of wanted to throw a big picture sort of question. And with that, what do you, in your opinion, what would you say the role of art in society is? Would it be a mirror? Is it supposed to be an ideal that we present? Or is it just unbound expression? Or is it like, is art not have to be any of those things? Is it all of those things? Is there any one purpose that art primarily plays in society?
Well, there are obviously different kinds of art, but even within my own visual art, there's my experience doing the art, and then there's the artifact that's left afterwards. And I think society has to allow people in its society to do that experience of doing the art, but that's completely different than the artifact that's left afterwards. And the artifact can be political posters, it can be, ugly pictures, it can be wonderful pictures, whatever. And anybody's take on that. But for me, I make that big separation. And
process.
And so Princess Gaillard ends up being an artifact.
Mm-hmm. But the process of making Princess Gaillard is a completely different.
I'm immersed in that. I experience that myself. You talk to the gods. You do all that. That's where you find those sorts of things.
Absolutely.
But it really has nothing to do with the finished product.
Yeah.
It may be interesting to different people, different aspects of that, but that was my own personal experience.
Yeah.
And society needs to let people designated as artists do that. You'd like them all to do it, but we end up designating people to do these things. And so that's a role that it has in society, is allowing people to just go do anything they want.
Yeah.
And produce something and create some kind of conversation.
That is exquisitely profound. I really like that. The role of art in society is to give people a space, be it a head space or a physical studio space to just.
And then some of those people will reflect things.
Yeah.
And maybe come up with brand new ideas about something.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's about all the time we have. I'm really happy that you came in here to talk with me.
Well, I'm really happy too, Todd, that you and the museum have given people through the show and even these interviews to have a voice.
Yeah. So before we leave, why don't you let everybody know where they can find you?
Okay, I've got an old Victorian house in Oil City. 900 square feet of the downstairs is a gallery
Okay.
basically for Margaret and myself. And then I've got a carriage house with on the second floor is my studio, and that's about 1,200 square feet. And that's where I do my work. So I just walk from the house to the carriage house. That's my commute.
All right.
And our gallery is open by appointment, and occasionally we'll have events. And it's our place to show. We're not sitting there all day long waiting for someone to come. We just have these appointments, and it's a way to demonstrate what we do.
All right. All right. Well, thank you for being here with us, and thank you for watching. We'll be back in a week or two with another one of these Meet the Artist interviews. Once again, I'm Todd with the Erie Art Museum. Have a wonderful day.